Hey, welcome to Devotionals with Danny. So over the last week, things have gotten crazy, and I don't know if you're anything like me. Maybe you're still reeling from that idea of last week everything was okay, everything was cool, everything was good, and now all of a sudden we're in the middle of this crazy situation with coronavirus. And so in the middle of that, I wanted to make sure that you still knew that you were a part of our community, right? That you were a part of El Camino and that you were a part of our youth group. And so part of what I wanted to do sort of to make that happen is, we would have our Tuesday night. We had our Tuesday night Zoom call where we kind of check in with you guys, see how you were doing, let you know a little bit more about what we're planning on doing in the middle of this crazy time. And then I want to start making content for you guys. Start making videos. I'm going to try and make a devotionals with Danny every day, where I kind of invite you guys to come through and join me as I do my morning devotionals every day. And then I'll try and put out twice a week, maybe on Tuesday and Thursday, a little talk show where I interview people. I think we've got one coming out on Thursday with me and Haas, where we just talk about movies. And that was sort of my first video that I filmed, so it has some audio quality issues. You'll have to forgive me for that. I've learned a lot since. But yeah, I kind of want to make sure that we're making things so that you can feel like you're a part of the community, right? So that you have something to do in the middle of the craziness, that you have a community to be a part of. And so, so Devotions with Danny, I'm just going to take you through my morning devotional routine. Grab a cup of coffee, or tea or hot chocolate or whatever you want, and grab your Bible and maybe a notebook, and we'll just sort of walk through what the Bible has for us, and I'll kind of tell you a few of the things I found in my reading, and give you like a little devotional thought. It's like 5-10 minutes max, and then I'll let you on your way, and it'll kind of be like a little devotional thing for the day. So with that being said, I think we're going to start off with James, and I'm starting a new devotional, and we're going through the book of James, or I'm going through the book of James, and so if you want to join me on that, feel free. So with that, I guess without further ado, let's just jump right in, right? Let's just jump right in, and I'll read right now. We're going to do James 1 through 18, and I'll just read what I've read, and maybe give you a few insights on it. The way I generally do my devotional is I read through it, mark some themes and things that are interesting to me, and then I'll read through it one more time and give some more detailed kind of like, hey, this is something maybe I want to do throughout the week. I'm always looking for application, right? So I guess let's just dive right in, eh? James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes in the dispersion. Greetings. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave on the sea, that is driven and tossed by the wind. For the one who doubts, for that person must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. Let the lowly brother boast in his exaltation, and the rich in his humiliation, because like a flower of the grass he will pass. For the sun rises with its scorching heat, and withers the grass, its flower falls, and its beauty perishes. So also will the rich man fade away in the midst of his pursuits. Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, for which God has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am being tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. But each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desires. Then desire, when it has conceived, gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is fully grown, brings forth death. Do not be deceived, my beloved brothers. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, counting down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. Of his own will he brought us forth from the word of truth, that we should be kind of first fruits for his creatures. So reading through that, sort of the big theme is standing firm in the middle of trials, right? That's sort of the big theme that I was kind of pulling out, is the idea of standing firm in the middle of trials, and that trials produce steadfastness, and that trials teach us to rely on God, right? Some other things that were kind of in there were wisdom and sort of how does wealthy versus poverty, and temptation, right? Those are some other themes. And so sort of just jumping right into 2, one of the things I love is it says, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." I read that, and it was really encouraging to me to think that in the middle of the coronavirus, which is a time of testing, right? It's a time when I'm frustrated and uncertain, that in the midst of that, like, God's got our back, right? That in the midst of that, it gives us the chance to produce steadfastness, right? It gives us the chance to lean into God a little bit closer, right? To say, hey, God, I know things are crazy. I know things are wild, but I want to trust you. I know things are not quite the way I had imagined them to be. I know that the world right now is riddled with uncertainty and fear, but I'm going to lean in closer to you, and you're the person whom I rely on. And through that, we build that steadfastness. It builds that relationship, right? It builds that credibility, because when we see how God is faithful in the middle of hard times like the coronavirus, or whatever situation it might be, maybe you have a friend who's sick, or a family member who's sick, right? Or, I don't know, maybe you're having a fight with your best friend, or you're feeling really alone right now because you can't hang out with people the way you normally would. That's a trial. And as you see how God works in and through you and in your life through those trials, and how your relationship with him grows, that produces steadfastness. It grows your faith in him. It grows your relationship with God. And I love that. I love that it talks about how when we need something, right, when we need wisdom in the middle of trials, we can talk to God, and he is faithful to give it to us. He says, look, I want to give you wisdom if you truly trust me for it. Right? Don't be like the guy who wavers and falters, sort of like the wave on the wind. That's sort of wherever the wind blows, that's where the wave is going to go. He says, no, I want you to really trust me. I want you to believe that I can provide the wisdom you need, and don't try to find wisdom in things. Don't try to find wisdom in stuff that the world is trying to give you, but look for wisdom in me and trust me for that wisdom. I think that's cool, that in the middle of that hard time, right, it's producing steadfastness, it's growing our relationship with God, but it's also in the middle of that we can ask God for wisdom and for help, and he says he's going to provide that for us. And then I love, sort of as it goes through, it talks about, blessed is the man who remains steadfast in verses 12. Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life. Well, God has promised for those who love him. He's promised the crown of life to those people who love him. And if we get through this difficult time, because we get through this difficult time relying on God, it's going to be a reward that's going to be credited to us. Now, he's really obvious about, hey, if you give in to sin, that's bad. That brings death. But that sin is coming from inside of you, and if you listen to the voice, don't listen to that voice of sin that's inside of you, but listen to the voice of God that's bringing righteousness and goodness, and wisdom in the midst of that. And then he says, every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. And he ends it on that really cool, powerful, hopeful note, right? That says, hey, you can rely on me because I'm never going to change. You can rely on me because I'm always there. you can rely on me because I love to give you good gifts. I want what's best for you, and you can rely on me getting you what's best for you. And that's a really cool promise, that in the middle of difficult times, in the middle of trials and hardships, in the middle of sickness, in the middle of broken friendships, in the middle of difficult relationships with family, in the middle of whatever hardship you're facing, God is there. He is unchanging. His love for you never changes. His support for you never changes, and he's there with you the whole time. There's no variation or change. And if we lean into God, if we trust God, it's going to grow our relationship with him more. So I love that, and I wanted to share that sort of with you guys. I guess tomorrow we're going to be going through the next finishing out chapter 1 and talking about the next thing. Thank you so much for joining me for sort of coffee and devotions with Danny. And I hope you guys are doing really well and surviving the coronavirus okay. See you.